A lawmaker challenges the Bureau of Internal Revenue to police its ranks and run after corrupt officials and personnel who are taking advantage of business owners. He adds, improving tax collection efforts should be a priority instead of raising or imposing new taxes to pay the country's rising debt. Tax expert Mon Abrea joins us now for his insights. Thank you so much for joining us. We heard these comments from Senator Gatchalian, Amon, urging the BIR to crack down on corrupt personnel, victimizing not just large corporations but also small businesses. Is this a prevalent practice?
Well, it's not something, it's not really new, Rico. In the first place, we have been hearing that ever since. But a lot of things have changed already, especially under the leadership of Commissioner Dulay, where we saw that those who would want to pay the right taxes are no longer being harassed or allowed to actually settle their cases without under the table. But I think it's a case-to-case basis. There are those out of ignorance, and there are some revenuers who take advantage of it. And there are those, because of their non-compliance, they don't want to pay the penalty, the 20% surcharge, the interest, so they negotiate. And I think that leads to the illegal compromise or paying under the table. But it's not actually the case, always the case that the BIR examiners are the one harassing. Because, you know, Rico, there are also those from government who actually harass examiners when the corporations or companies involved are actually an ally or connected to some politico. And we saw that. And when I was an examiner, I also experienced that.
And Mon, this term has come up every so often during the investigation. It's called the Pabaon scheme. What is it? What is it all about?
Pabaon is normally the lingo they use when a BIR official or an examiner will retire or will be reassigned to a new post. But again, that story may be recycled already because number one, if you're paying the right taxes, I don't think you will be compelled or harassed to even get into this Pabaon system. But whether it's happening or not, it depends on the taxpayers who are actually giving in to this quote-unquote Pabaon.
So it's also a two-way street, no?
Exactly.
Mon, no? When all is said and done, how can the BIR crack down on these types of practices?
Number one, Rico, I think they're already in the right direction to really focus on digital transformation, automate it, lessen, if not eradicate or remove the discretionary power of our BIR examiners. If it's automated already, even the politicians cannot meddle with BIR cases. Because as I have said, it's a two-way street. Number two, it's a case-to-case basis. It's not always BIR examiners harassing. Sometimes they're the one being harassed if the companies involved are connected with some influential people. But other than digitalization, I think we really also have to consider revisiting the attrition law. Rico, the attrition law has been there, but it was never implemented. Attrition law is giving incentives to performing revenuers and considering filing cases or terminating examiners who are not actually performing, who are just taking advantage of non-compliant taxpayers or tax evaders and use them as a milking cow.
And you know, I've lived around Asia for close to 25 years, Mon, no? In Hong Kong and Singapore. And digitalizing the tax system is so efficient and really does away with the graft and corruption.
Agree. That's why, Rico, if the senator commented that, I would like also to appeal to him and the Congress to double the budget of BIR to expedite the digitalization and make sure even the audit will be computerized. Because it's not a new story. This is not something new that every time an examiner will meet a taxpayer or a taxpayer will deal with an examiner, there will always be an opportunity for them to compromise. And that can only be removed if it will be computerized.
We're about 2 weeks away, no, from the inauguration of the president-elect. The economic team has been formed. Why do you think, Mon, hasn't a new BIR chief been appointed?
Well, you know, the BIR chief is very controversial and powerful at the same time. But at the same time, we are also seeing that the president-elect is careful on who will be appointed as BIR chief because it will be challenging considering that the president-elect also has a tax issue of his own.
That's right. That's right. I was about to get to that point, no? Will the new BIR chief press the president-elect on his estate liability of more than 200 billion pesos. That is a big question mark.
Well, actually, I would like to look at it the other way around, that we appeal to our president-elect to actually take the initiative to finally resolve and settle the case. Anyway, they are already in power, and setting a good example will really help the government collect more taxes without new or higher taxes.
That's true. No, I mean, you have a leader who must also lead by example. But Senate Majority Leader Amig Zubiri said, Mon, we should move on from the estate tax liability because it's an election issue. Is it just an election issue?
It's not an election issue. It's a Supreme Court decision, and it has to be upheld and make sure that there will be a settlement or collection, whether through the public auction of the quote-unquote estate or properties accounted for, or voluntary payment from the Marcos family. So I beg to disagree that it is an election issue. Otherwise, everyone will use it against the BIR every time that they will have to pay taxes. What about the president? What about their family? So it will be a vicious cycle, Rico. That's why my appeal and really request that the president-elect consider settling their cases first so that he will set a good example. And hopefully, Congress and Senator Gatchalian, who made that comment, will also consider lifting the bank secrecy law so that we can really crack down corruption and address tax evasion. Because, you know, Rico, it's equally important that we address graft and corruption while we are trying to end tax evasion and smuggling. It requires a whole government approach. It cannot be just the taxpayers. It should also show that they spend our taxes judiciously and that there are no issues of graft and corruption.
Tax expert Mon Abrea, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word and sharing with us your insights.